It's me again. We're up to quiz 9 now. Okay, so this is our first video. We will now be covering a topic on quiz 9 and quiz 10 called percent equations. Okay, don't be intimidated. It's a 3-step process that uses this formula. Is over of equals percent over 100. Or if for some reason you can't find the is or the of, you can always use part over total equals percent over 100. So let's get started with some examples and you'll see what I mean when I say a 3-step process. Okay, so here's our first example. What is 20% of 400? Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to read through the problem and you're going to plug in things according to the formula. So again, here's our formula. All right, so step 1 is read the problem and plug things in. So I'm going to just draw a blank fractions. And we're going to plug things in as we go. Okay, so the first thing we see is the word what followed by the word is. This means we don't have a number for the is. We're unsure of that. So we're going to use a variable instead. So for those of you who've taken algebra, you know that a variable is a letter that just stands for a number. In the book, they use the letter n, so I'm going to be consistent with the book, and we're going to use n for number. All right, the is goes in the numerator, so that's why I've put the n in the numerator of the first fraction. Then if you keep reading, the next thing that you see is 20%. So again, looking back at our formula, where does the percent go? The percent goes in the numerator of the second fraction. So we're going to put the number 20 here because that's what's attached to the percent sign, and the percent goes in the numerator of the second fraction. The third thing that we see is the word of right next to the number 400. So let's look back at our formula. It says of should go in the denominator of the first fraction. We're going to put that 400 in the denominator of the first fraction. So this is step 1. Remember, it's a 3-step process. We have everything set up. Step 2 is called cross multiply. And what that means is take the numerator of the first fraction, multiply it by the denominator of the second fraction. So we're going to do that here. Let me just rewrite what we have. Okay, so this numerator times the opposite denominator. So we're going to have n times 100. And the way you do that when you're dealing with algebra is you put the number first and then the letter. So 100n, and set that equal because we have an equal sign, the denominator of the first fraction times the numerator of the second. So 400 times 20. Again, 400 times 20. So let's see if we can clean that up. So we get 100n equals, we all should be able to figure out what 400 times 20 is. 4 times 2 is 8. And then we have 1, 2, 3 zeros. Again, if you need to use your scrap paper, you should be able to do this. 400 times 20 is 8,000. Okay, so that's step 2. Our final step is to divide by the number attached to the n, to the variable. Okay, so let's rewrite everything. We get 100n equals 8,000. All right, we're working on step 3. We're going to divide by the number attached to the n. So what number is attached to the n? 100. So we're going to divide this side by 100 and this side by 100. So if you remember when we worked with fractions, anytime you have the same thing in the numerator as you do in the denominator, they cancel out. In that case, it leaves us just with n over here because the 100's canceled out. So the equal sign comes down. And over here, we should be able to easily figure out what 8,000 divided by 100 is. You can do that out the long way. 100 goes into 800 8 times. Bring down the 0. 100 goes into 0 0 times with nothing left over. Our answer is 80. So let's go over that again. We have a 3-step process. Step 1, follow your formula, plug everything in according to the formula. Step 2, cross multiply. That means take the numerator times the opposite denominator, make that equal to the denominator times the opposite numerator. And step 3 is divide by the number attached to the end.